So everything's a rock if you're big enough.
So why is it open stone?
That's a good question.
They're tough to get open.
We're live.
Whose underwear are these?
Iron Palace Podcast.
Getting all in before the music stopped.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Iron Palace Podcast, the world's most anabolic podcast that Steven Seagal is too afraid to acknowledge.
That's right.
I'd call him the P word if we didn't have to cut it.
Yeah. But he knows what we mean.
Oh, he knows. And it's not your Russian, buddy. He speaks Russian. I don't know if you knew that. He's pretty well versed. You might be a little worried.
Because he speaks Russian.
I don't know, man. Russians are scary. They're the bad guy in every age.
Russians are scary, but Steven Seagal's not scary.
No.
I don't know. Maybe he's scary by association. We don't know.
Maybe you should show us that he's scary.
Maybe his friends are scary.
Yeah.
But...
Come beat up Holland and show us that you're scary.
Oh, I can see me pulling Holland off of old Steve.
Oh, Steve. Holland will beat him so bad, he'll just go by Steve from now on.
Well, you have to refer to him the same way that Bobby Boucher's mom hollered at the mule. Shut up, Steve. Steve.
You left me alone here with Steve.
Yeah. Nobody talked to but Steve. Shut up, Steve. You think SCLSU is going to be any good this year?
So, if you could have any animal as a sidekick, real or fictional, what would it be and why? Did you like that segue? It was real smooth. You never saw it coming.
I know. Yeah, I mean, it was just bam.
I know. I'm right sneaky
there.
like that.
Yeah, that's good podcasting.
I don't know if people not seeing you coming and being sneaky is a positive thing
Just answer the question.
in
Dave.
your line of work. Oh, I got to go first?
Now you do. Just answer the question.
Animal sidekick.
Real or fiction?
Ooh. Real or fiction? I want a Game of Thrones dragon then, dude.
Oh, pretty cool.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
One of the cool looking ones, though. Not the big green one that looks all old. Like, give me like Silverwing or one of them. Or what's the one, the bronze something? I don't know. It looks pretty cool. One of them sounds nice. If I could put a big white 3 on the side of it.
Oh, man.
Dog. I want the black one with a BF Goodrich sticker on his nose.
I really don't think you can just say that on.
You can with dragons.
Sure.
You can't treat dragons like people. You ever read the book If You Give a Mouse a Cookie?
Yeah.
It's like dragons. We treat them like people.
All right, Holland, will you answer this before Dave gets us canceled?
Yeah.
Before we ever really get a chance to get started.
What's the flying lemur thing from the last Avatar? Right? Is that what it is?
Oh,
the
yeah.
flying lemur?
I forget his
Momo?
name. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what he is.
I think I want that as a sidekick.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool one.
I think he's just like a monkey lemur. I don't know.
But he flies.
Yeah.
He does fly. It's like a flying squirrel monkey lemur.
I like it. That's what I want. I want a flying squirrel monkey lemur.
I mean, on that note, now that you mention it, Oppo would be dope to have.
Flying bison. Yeah.
Air bison.
True. But I was just thinking, I was like, man, where would I keep him, though? Like, where would you park him?
Anywhere. Dude, he stays anywhere.
And how do you explain an injury? It's like, or a death. It's like, how did he pass away? He was in a bison accident.
Real nasty.
Yeah.
Real nasty bison accident. Hate to see it.
Was he
Like
in the park?
Yosemite? Yeah.
But
No, it was Lenore City,
the
actually.
thing is, you park him wherever, because what are they going to say? Don't park it here?
They're going to say, your bison's leaving giant floating piles of crap everywhere. Can you get him out of here, please, sir?
I'll push it into a Safeway or something.
I wonder if it floats, too. I would like to think it floats. You just kind of send it up like a balloon after a party.
I'd agree.
Yeah.
Hey, I've got a funny story about a bison.
All right, well, before we get to that, Alan, what's your animal sidekick?
Chupacabra.
Uh-oh.
Harry from Harry and the Hendersons.
The Yeti chose a Yeti.
Kind of looked like him with my shirt off.
Actually, he's a Sasquatch, so.
Oh, my
Yeah,
bad.
so a Yeti chose a Sasquatch.
Yeah.
I kind of look like that with a shirt off for sure.
He does. I've seen it.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so you have a story about a bison?
What are you choosing?
Yeah.
I said an air bison.
Oh, okay. So there, let when we mentioned that it was a bison accident in Lenore City or whatever. There was one that was running loose in Greenback back several years ago.
Bison.
Yeah,
At large.
yeah. A friend of mine.
They tend to do that.
Knew this guy that was like, yeah, I work at, I think it was like Little Ponderosa Zoo or somewhere, you know. And this was back.
Familiar.
This was back. This was back several. I don't know. Probably.
That's where I trade my ostriches.
It's probably 15 years ago now. And the guy was like, yeah, oh yeah, I can get any kind of animal. You know, he was talking about like exotics or
Then
whatever.
he winked at him.
Well,
Do you mean anything?
well, so dude was like, oh really? He was like, I want a buffalo. And he was like, you mean like a bison or like a water buffalo?
Like from VeggieTales, everybody wants a water buffalo.
Yeah, he was like, no, I want a bison. You know, so he was like,
Okay, side question.
Yeah.
What's the difference between a bison and a buffalo?
well, exactly what you said. A water buffalo, that's a buffalo. A bison is an American bison. You know,
It was accidentally called buffalo.
Yeah.
they're not really called. They're not really buffaloes.
buffalo.
That's a misnomer.
Got it.
So whatever he wanted. So he wants a buffalo. We'll call it a buffalo for you.
What is that? What's the other word? Eponymous? Something named for something else?
Yeah.
No, it's autonomous.
Yeah.
I don't know what that word means either.
Jack White's got a pretty catchy song called The Hip Eponymous. That's the only reason I know that word.
This is how I know y'all make stuff up.
No.
Y'all meet up in the driveway before we start, and you just make things up to say back and forth casually, and make Caleb go, "What's that?"
Well, you know we didn't plan it today. I got here like 20 minutes before.
Yeah, but you were hiding out there in what's soon to be the studio. How do I know y'all weren't on the phone together, being like, "Yo, let's say epotamus," and
Caleb will have no idea what this word means.
if we say bison and water buffalo in the same sentence, I bet he gets him. I'm like,
But
You
so
think he knows what a meerkat is?
To make a long story short, he challenged the guy to get him one, and sure enough, he calls. He's like, "Hey, you going to come pick up your buffalo?" And he was, of course, he didn't think that it would actually show up, so he was like, yeah." So he goes and brings cattle trailer up there, loads this full-grown male bison
water buffalo.
into the trailer, and he's got no place to put it except for like his dad's barn in Greenback. Well,
How much did he pay for said?
I have no idea. I can't
You don't
remember.
want to know.
'Cause
It's
could
more of
you-
a favor.
It was a lot.
I was about to say, could you imagine like jokingly calling a guy's bluff like that?
Yeah.
And saying, "Oh yeah, get me a bison or water buffalo, whatever."
Yeah,
The heck.
and then he
shows
shows
us-
up like, "This is $35,000."
Yeah.
dollars.
Well, you
I'd be like, "Oh,
You can get anything on Temu, boys.
Yeah,
that's true."
but so he takes it, puts it in the barn. He doesn't tell it doesn't tell anybody. You know, he just puts it in the barn and he goes to work. Well, he's watching the news, and the news is talking about like they're like doing the traffic or whatever. And they're like, oh, this just in. There is a buffalo running loose in Greenback.
And he was like, whew, good thing I got a bison.
And dude's like,
The people on the news, are stoked because ain't nothing fun happens in Greenback.
and dude was like, "Oh man, that's mine." So he has to ask off work. And he's like, "Hey, I got to go." And they're like, "Why?" He's like, "My buffalo's loose."
Roger got out.
He's like, "Man, good thing there's a bison loose. My water buffalo is safe at home."
So he gets there, and like, I mean, he had it for a total of like 5 minutes. So it wasn't like he was used to him or anything, so he couldn't catch it. He ended up having to shoot it.
He didn't even get to reenact a man on a buffalo.
Yeah, he ended up having to,
Couldn't even ride that thing through the woods or nothing.
But
As someone who played Red Dead Redemption 1, you can't kill them with just a regular rifle either. You got to get the buffalo rifle from the store in Blackwater, or you've got no shot.
But so its
I'd
head
be in
is
trouble. I don't
mounted
even know
in
where
his
Blackwater
house.
is.
It's next to Flatiron Lake, dog.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, but yeah, so its head's mounted in his house.
I mean,
He was like, "Yeah,
I want an elephant head, but like you can't, like you can get them from like antique stores and crap,
yeah."
but you can't openly because the ivory trade.
You can't get a new
yeah.
elephant head.
Yeah, which just means elephant heads are way more expensive now. But like, I think it would be cool to have a big African elephant head on the wall. Sick.
So
And
next,
then get his butt on the other side of the wall.
so everybody walking by your house goes, "What's that?"
Like I would have, like it would be like if I was loaded enough to have an African elephant head. Like when you walk into my foyer, it'd be a solid white room with just an elephant head on the wall, and you'd have to find the door to get to the rest of the house. It'd just be a decorative room with an elephant head. Just like a power move.
I would have its head coming out of this wall, but its butt in this wall. It looked like
My, what a lovely room of death.
Standing in the room looking at the elephant head, looks behind him and the butt's behind
yeah,
him.
like wait.
Which end did you kill it on? All right. Down to the nitty gritty, as they say. So, I mean, we're kind of late to the game by the time this episode comes out. But Jake Paul beats Mike Perry.
Yeah. Kind of surprised.
I was surprised and not surprised, if that makes sense. I was surprised that it looked as easy as it did.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that he was that much bigger than Mike Perry, too.
I knew he was bigger, but I hadn't actually seen them like side by side until the weigh-ins, and that's where I was like, "Oh,
yeah."
Then the weigh-ins, there's like a 40-pound 20-pound difference between the two, but it looked way more than 20 pounds.
Yeah, I was like, man, that's.
But kind of just like we thought, Mike didn't move his head at all, and he was taking everything to the chin.
He was just sitting there eating shots.
Which
I mean, like,
I also watched a podcast after that because, I mean, to say what you want about Mike Perry and Jake Paul, they're both really good sportsmen about it.
yeah,
So Mike Perry went on Jake Paul's podcast and they talked about it. He said 10 seconds. Mike said 10 seconds into the fight, he broke my rib. He said he took one bot. He said everyone kept telling him he's going to have his hands down. So he said I did what everyone told me to do. Put my hands up. Said 10 seconds into the fight, Jake right hook to the body, cracked my rib. He said after that, it's like hands are down.
man.
He thought, he said, I don't know. But he said, now I know I got to protect my body. My head can take it. What an odd thing to think.
Yeah,
The giant Oxford and Jackass and the bicentennial BMX on those big wheels.
Yeah.
And he's like, luckily my face broke my fall.
But, yeah, Mike Perry, he said, straight up, he said there was a few things that caught him off guard. He said, one, Jake punched. He said, I didn't necessarily downplay what I thought he would be, but so there were things that weren't excuses. They were just things I weren't ready for. But that's just, you're a boxer. I'm not a boxer. He said the same thing like Conor McGregor said after he fought Floyd Mayweather was, you would expend all this energy to get into an advantageous spot that you're not allowed to take advantage of.
Yeah.
yeah,
So like he would get into a clinch. Well, in bare knuckle, you're allowed to hook the head and just start hand jamming. Can't do that in boxing. So,
And like Floyd was really smart about it too. Like the minute Conor would start to grab him, he would just rotate.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
He's got my back.
yep.
Pull apart.
Yep. So there's just different stuff like that. And he said that also like the ring was a little more springy than what he's used to. And he said he did no warm up before the fight. So he said for the first like 4 rounds or so, he kept thinking, where are my legs? He said I just felt like I couldn't move around. I couldn't do anything. He said for one, it's just not an excuse. He said it's just me talking about what happened. He said if my feet were there, probably wouldn't have changed the outcome. So, but I was still like, so the ring was kind of bouncy. He said I did no warm up before because I was afraid of, he said in bare knuckle at most you're fighting like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But now they're doing 5 or 6 however many rounds. He was like, that's a long time, so I didn't want to gas out.
Yeah.
So I didn't do anything.
yeah. He's used to just it's a blitz and then the
Yep.
fight's over, and
So,
yeah,
Which, yeah, I mean, it went the way I thought, but I didn't think it would.
Looks so easy.
Yeah, I didn't think it would look so easy because
Yeah.
I knew Mike wasn't going to be moving his head. I knew he was going to be catching shots the whole time, and he did.
yeah,
He certainly. But I will say, every time he got knocked down, he never once looked out.
yeah.
Like every time it more so looked like he fell.
Mm-hmm.
So
Got
he
caught off balance or something.
Yeah, which that's what he said too. He was like, one, it might have been because my rib was cracked. I wasn't really thinking straight anymore. It was, how do I breathe right now? He said then he couldn't feel his feet out from under him. The ring was a little more springy than what he was expecting. So everything kind of threw him off. He said and then there was one. He said he stepped weird. He just kind of toppled over. And
Well, and another thing too, like it's one thing, Mike Perry's used to eating shots, but now he's used to doing that against guys that are his weight,
yeah,
and then you get a guy 20 pounds heavier.
yep.
Just
That being said, he did fight of course, I forget his name now because I didn't write any notes on that. He fought I want to say it was Eddie Alvarez. I know he fought Eddie Alvarez, but I can't remember if that's who I'm talking about or not. But anyway, he weighed in like 20, 25 pounds over him.
Yeah.
And he even had a rehydration clause where he shot up a little more before that. But he knocked out Eddie Alvarez too. So
how do you weigh in that heavy and have a rehydration clause, man?
I don't know. But yeah, it went the way I thought, but also not the way I thought. Either way, it was a great fight. I loved watching them both be sportsmen about it after.
Yeah. Yeah, and
even though Conor flat out said he's going to fire him from bare knuckle. But it was a good fight. I like to see it. I'm looking forward to the Mike Tyson fight now.
Yeah.
I think we've all been looking forward to that, though.
Yeah, I'm trying to get too stoked on it. I don't think it's going to happen anymore.
I don't know. The reason I don't think so is I think they've missed the hype.
Yeah.
Because I think now, like you just said, I think everyone's going to think it's not going to happen. So I would like to see it happen, but I don't think it will.
yeah.
I mean, I'm going to watch it if it happens.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But we'll see. Strongest Man on Earth competition. They've got a few more events I wanted to talk about that seem pretty dope. And then we'll get into the main meat and potatoes of today, which is they have a squat for reps. Like how you had to move the microphone out of the way.
Dude, don't let them know how the sausage gets made. Behind the scenes.
We have literally never, not one time.
we come in sausage first.
I'm not even going to comment on that at all.
That's going to be the next podcast shirt.
Sausage first.
That's going to be that's the name of this episode, actually.
Yeah.
So they have
Ready for Wamplers, baby.
they're going to have a squat for reps. The bar will be an adjustable height to each athlete, but there will be a set depth, and they will not have to control the forward and back motion of the bar. However, they will have to control the down motion. They won't be allowed to slam it into the stops. But what I think is cool is Brian keeps talking about it. He's very interested in showing the force output required to do it, not just saying they squat X amount of weight for X amount of reps. Like, so for example, they're going to have force plates under each foot of the athlete while they're doing the squat, so that it will show an live reading of the force output they are applying.
Oh man,
That's cool.
So then you can also watch it that as they're doing their reps, like, will there be an imbalance between left and right leg, of one leg's gassing out before the other? It's
That's pretty cool.
pretty dope.
And what's going to be cool too is like these guys are going to be able to go back and look at that and see how they need to change their training.
Exactly, which is what he said. And every time he talks about one of these events, that's something he talks about, is how he's going to have a load cell on this, a force plate on that, because he wants to see that. They're also going to have force plates for the, if I understood him correctly, this part did get a little muddy for me, but whenever they're coming down, to prevent them from bouncing, so the safeties and the stops are the same thing for the squat. But they're also going to have force plates down so that if you hit it too hard, no rep. So, because
the last time I saw a squat for reps at a strongman competition, they were doing, it might have been tires that they were squatting, and dude, they were bouncing so hard.
Yeah, anytime I've seen, they're always like some huge things on the end of them, and they're just getting bounced around. It's like, have you ever watched the first CrossFit games, like the very first ever CrossFit competition, like the whole thing?
No, I love Jesus.
It's actually entertaining. I recommend watching it because there's like
a lot of sins entertaining. Caleb.
Okay. Anyways,
Caleb.
I think that readout would be pretty cool. So there's like a live readout, because like, you're putting down more force than what the weight is to get off the ground. It'd be cool too to see like how, if they like spike, or like how smoothly they get up. Like, it'll be really neat to see.
Yep. And I'll get to that here in just a second. There's another event that plays a big part in too that was really cool. But yeah, on the first CrossFit games, they were doing their whatever it's called, the thrusters, whatever, from ground to overhead and push ups.
Yeah.
Well, so whenever they're doing that for reps, there's a guy, he's like a linebacker, he's freaking huge, should be a power lifter and not a CrossFitter.
Huge.
And he's out here dropping this weight from overhead. It's bouncing and he's catching it waist height. and then do it going up. And
Oh, yeah.
they had to call it like mid thing, like no.
Well, that's like there's a video that went around.
That's too fast.
This guy was at a it was a strongman competition, and it was a max deadlift, and he got it up to about his knees and then slammed it on the ground to bounce it. It was on bumpers.
Yep.
And he bounced it like twice real hard, and then finally got it up above his knees, and then worked it out and got it. And well, they counted it because it didn't say anywhere in the rules that he couldn't bounce it.
He didn't travel. That's
Like,
what's important.
so
You
like-
can dribble, you just can't travel.
So if you'll notice, a lot of times in a max deadlift or deadlift for reps, it'll mention now that you cannot bounce the way.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
So for the squat, they will be allowed to wear knee wraps, but they have to wrap them off stage. They will not be allowed to drag a chair out and wrap them on stage. So also changes it because now you're going to be able to walk out there and you
You got to do the waddle out.
yeah, but so
Like they
you
forgot
can't.
toilet paper. Nobody else is home.
And so the way they're setting up the apparatus, he's not telling you or showing you what it is. He just describes how it's going to work.
Yeah.
But so the way it's going to be kind of like a Smith machine in the sense like you're not controlling the forward and back, but it's also not going to be like a hack squat quite either. It's still a back squat, but you have to set your stance so that they know what your stance is. So you can't do it a certain way, go knee wrap, and then come back and do it a completely different way.
Right. Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting. But yeah, so the force plates I think is a super cool addition to it. On top of that, another one they're doing is called the Power Medley, which Brian Shaw said was and I didn't write any of this down because I actually watched this video today. As he talked about, he wanted to know what it was like to do a arm over arm pull with a baler and know if that's possible.
Oh yeah.
So they made it work, and it's really cool. He said, so to pull the baler, he hooked it up to a forklift and measured it. It was about, I think he said 200 to 300 pounds to move it.
Mm-hmm.
But again, this is also on flat ground, and it's heavy, and it doesn't get momentum, and it's an arm over arm pull on a rope.
So each pull is
a dead stop.
Yeah.
So it's just like you're saying with that spike and then decline. There's no, like with a truck pull or anything, you're just pulling and you get momentum and you keep it moving. There's none of that here.
yeah. The hardest part in the truck pull is getting it started.
Yeah.
Right. So he said then he did the arm over arm with a load cell in between to measure it. And he said his max that he saw peak was over 600 for him to pull it. So it's a peak pull, but then it's going to start over every time. Because you got to do overarm.
Oh,
I was like, my God, that's going to be insane. Because
That's dang near close to like almost like curling that much weight. Like that's
Right.
crazy. Go, stop. Like that's nuts.
and that's why he said was crazy is why it requires so much more force to pull it with your arms is because now your grip is on. So you're gripping a rope to pull it.
I'm good for like 450 once a month.
Which it's called a medley too, because I think there's a pull and then, or like, I want to say there's like a tractor pull or something. I zoned in on the baler part and I kind of blocked the rest of the medley part out.
The Beatles had a pretty good medley in Abbey Road.
True. Also, so then another event is the keg toss for height. It'll be an adjustable height platform, which he says is going to be pretty cool. I went into a lot of but since he's not showing you anything, it's hard to kind of understand what he's envisioning for this apparatus. Yeah. But he said it's going to be really cool. It's going to be very calculated, so they can actually measure the height of everything. But one thing he brought up, which was a good point that I did want y'all to take on, is so Brian Shaw's record, because I mean he's held the keg toss for height record for a very long time, but his record was beat by half an inch, I think, last year. But his record was set standing in sand throwing.
Right.
The record was beaten standing on a platform and throwing. So the question he brought up, and he told the guys he's talking to, don't answer it. That's just my own, thoughts. Is can you measure throwing from sand versus throwing from a platform and say that you're calibrated within half an inch?
Right.
I mean, you're talking.
I mean, yeah.
Happy Homes been broken up over less though.
True. I mean, like, and he's not claiming that like no one broke it. He's just making it.
It's a valid point.
That's what I'm saying. It's
Even just when you stand down in the sand,
exactly.
You go in. You
I mean, that's
exactly.
almost 2 different events.
Yeah.
Like,
that was my thought. That's why I was like, this was a great conversation because I don't think you can.
Yeah, no.
I have a hard time walking in sand. Much
Yeah,
less.
that's my point.
yeah.
Like, and then so also the way they do it is, they start 5 or 6 feet up, grab it, and then step back and throw. So in that step back, you're definitely scooting into the sand.
Yeah.
Versus on a platform.
Yeah, and like the height of the bar may be exact from the base of the the base of the platform.
But you're not.
But yeah, they have no idea how far up or down the athlete is.
The other guy could have at least like stood in a tub of kitty litter or something.
Yeah.
Mounted up some sand and then stood up.
Which also got me thinking about WOB for Highland Games.
Right.
Is, granted, we're not in sand. However, we're not really in a repeatable ground either.
Yeah.
So it's not the same as sand, but also, it's a lot like we say all the time. It's PR City or wherever you throw at, because one day you're throwing downhill, one time you're flat. So
Well, that's kind of Highland Games thing.
that's why the argument is not exactly valid, in my opinion, for Highland Games. But it brought up, I started thinking about it. I went down the rabbit hole for a little bit.
I understand though if it's like world records and stuff like that, I'd be like, okay, that's a little fishy.
Yeah,
he's going about it the best way instead of making a big stink about it. Like, no, I don't know. I think it's kind of fishy, but whatever.
That's what he said. He was like, I'm not taking it away from anybody, but that's why I think the idea is platforms from now on. Just take out the question of it.
Yeah.
But that being said, who's going to win that event? I'm banking Thor.
Yeah.
I think Thor's got the weight over bar record.
He could probably just
now.
lay it over the top.
Also true.
Hook shot it.
True. But yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Larry Bird.
He throws it from the sand and then his record gets beat. Also, who beats a record by half an inch?
Yeah. I mean that is just to beat the record.
I mean,
that's like beating a deadlift record by 1 kilo.
Yeah.
I bet after he broke it, he cried.
I mean, I will say at least beating it by a kilo is 2.2 pounds versus. But I still agree.
Still the minimum.
I mean, that's why we're calling 12 to 1250 on our 2-man deadlifts, because we don't want it to be we beat it by a kilo.
Yeah. Or put one of the chip plates on. We beat it by
Champs by 12 ounces.
3/4 of a kilo.
Start getting real specific, like you're weighing a baby.
Yeah.
So it's 1,250 pounds, 6 ounces.
All right. So also came across a video today. I had a few ideas of topics that we were going to talk about, but I quite often just put on random YouTube videos as I'm driving down the road or doing whatever.
You're watching
unsafe.
YouTube videos
Yeah.
going down the road?
I don't watch them. I just put
As
them
a
on.
government boy, you should not be doing such things.
That is very unsafe.
I have never heard you pronounce the R.
in government.
Did I?
Yeah, that's a
Gross.
first.
I've been reading.
That hit different. Actually, I think that one actually offended me a little.
I just recently found out that word has an R in it.
Me too. But is that what you've been saying this whole time?
Those squidbillies, they were mudding, and the kid's like, Dad, why we do this? That's a good question. Let's look it up. So they Google it. It says, did you mean mudding? You go, hell no, ain't no G on mudding.
Ain't no R in government.
Yep.
GUV''MENT.
Okay.
Sometimes I capitalize the apostrophe if I want to get really saucy.
Capitalize the apostrophe. I didn't know apostrophes came in like uppercase and lowercase.
It's really like the energy you send through the arm when you're writing it. It's tougher to type.
You hit that key real hard.
Yeah, it tries to put an accent above it if you push too hard on the
you gotta hold
iPhone. It tries to change it to one of them Nino things if you hold it too long on the iPhone. Yeah, I know they're not called that. Weather's a Nino. They're a Nino
we're
something.
moving on.
What are those called? Not Alan? Holland? Alan, do you know?
I have no idea.
You know what I'm talking about? A little squiggly above some N's in Spanish.
Yeah.
Why are you looking at me?
Well, because he asked you.
I can't even speak English. And technically, he looked at you and it said
It's
Alan.
an N something.
How in the world is he looking at you, says Alan, and you think he's talking to me?
I think it's that Nutrifit creatine going through these veins, dog. It's going a million mile an hour.
Anyways,
let's okay.
So I watched this video today.
While driving.
Yeah. Shame.
Mitch Hooper.
I'm calling the cops.
Yeah.
Mitch Hooper found that Muscle and Fitness did a top 10 strongest on Earth, or top 10 strongest humans to ever walk the Earth, and they say this is definitive, and it is in order. And I know already I've know this order, and I disagree with over half of it.
Yeah.
So to start it off, in number 10 is Brian Shaw.
I'm already a little skeptical.
You should be.
Yeah.
You really should be, especially when you hear number 1, which I agree for number 1.
Jeez.
But it just, we'll get there. So, Brian Shaw, I don't think there needs to be much explanation. We're going to do a story on him at some point, but
Spoilers.
all you need to know: 6'8", weighs 435 pounds. He's won the world's strongest man 4 times. He's won the Arnold countless times. I did find out that his deadlift of over 1,000 pounds was raw.
Really?
Didn't know that.
I didn't either.
So found that out today. I was like, well, that changes things.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, number 10, Brian Shaw, already not going to go well.
Yeah. I mean,
So-
there are 9 people that
Yeah.
are above him.
I mean, and I will give it. So whenever he said number 10, I already thought I was going to disagree, but I was like, you know what? Hold on. If we're saying to have ever walked the earth,
Yeah.
already like in my head, I'm thinking Angus McCaskill's gotta be up there.
Yeah, I mean,
That's a hell of a name.
yeah.
I'm gonna start going by Angus
I
McCaskill.
literally know that you have never listened to anything that we talked about in this podcast because that was the first story we ever did.
Angus McCaskill.
Yeah, he threw
Yes.
a horse over
Was I
a
there?
fence.
Yes.
Oh, I remember that. I don't remember names.
Yeah.
There's people that I've worked with for years. I don't know their names, but I remember the horse.
Number 9.
I didn't know that was old Angus. Number 9. Number 9.
Is this is someone I've never heard of, but already disagree, is Leonid Taraninko.
Oh, he's one of them Taraninko boys.
Oh, yeah. well,
Is a 1956, and luckily they give you a little description because I had no idea who this
His
was.
daddy works at the Waggles down here.
Yeah, and I was not about to research these people just for this few seconds to tell you who they are and why I
trapeze
disagree.
performer, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
No, this
Underhand
guy's
trapeze, though.
from the USSR.
Yeah, they get around. You think they can't travel? You think you're better than him, Caleb?
So he set the world record in weightlifting for the clean and jerk at 266 kilos, or that is not correct because this says 266 kilograms or 58.2 pounds. That's got to be backwards, right?
I just want points for not laughing at clean and jerk this many times.
Oh, they meant 586 pounds.
Yeah, not 58.2.
Yeah.
What's 58.2 in or 58.2 kilograms to pounds?
Don't change the camera, but Holland's going to do it off the top of his head. Just look into
Yeah.
Caleb's eyes
Yep,
and
he's-
know that Holland's mathing over here.
130.
Yeah, 128.
Okay, so no, they didn't get
And
it
he only had to
backwards.
borrow 2 of my fingers.
All right, so and he totaled 475 kilos, or well, this one sounds closer, 1,045 pounds. It says way back in 1988.
In the times before.
Yeah. So I guess their argument was that for his body weight, because he weighed 260, that this is a pretty high total. I don't know that.
But I don't really know what a good weightlifting total is.
I don't either, and that was my thought. Is like there's some weightlifters that I would put on here.
Yeah.
He's not one of them.
Yeah.
And the first one that came to my mind that Mitch Hooper mentioned is Lasha. I mean, the dude's a monster. So why would anyways, all right. So that's number 9, apparently, ahead of Brian Shaw. Number 8. Andy Bolton. You know who that is?
Wasn't he on The Office?
No. Andy Bolton is a power lifter, and he's the first man in history to have deadlifted 1,000 pounds. Twice during competition, he eclipsed his own accomplishment with pulls of 1,003 and then a record of 1,008. Bolton holds the 4th highest squat of all time at 1,213, and his 3-lift total of 2,806.34 pounds ranks 3rd highest in history. He once stated his goal was to break the mythical 3,000-pound total, a feat not even dreamed of by most powerlifters of any era.
When was this? How long ago was this?
I don't have a date.
First for 1,000, because that might have been like a prophecy thing, 1,000 and senior, 1,000 and junior. He let them know they were coming.
Impressive numbers, but he's 6 foot, 350 pounds from England. I mean, it's impressive, and
Is this equipped?
I'm pretty sure this is equipped.
It didn't hit 3,000.
Goes.
Actually, no. I think he's wearing wraps in the picture, but that doesn't look like a squat suit.
Because I feel like 1,200 pounds is.
I think it's just wraps. I think it might be single ply.
Huh.
I know. See, and that's the confusing part. Is whenever Mitch Hooper was talking about him, he mentioned several of them were equipped, or they competed in both, or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, then already, how do you count these people?
Right. Yeah.
Like, their raw numbers has to be the ones that matter. And again, if you're going to put them over Brian Shaw,
It seems like there's too much speculation and opinion involved.
that's my point. Is if you're going to put them over Brian Shaw, there better be a solid argument for this, because, in my opinion, Brian Shaw is one of the greatest.
Yeah.
So, and that's not. I don't think that's an opinion. All right.
I'll have to look him up.
What I say that was number 8?
Yeah.
So number 7. Another one that I don't know who he is Brian Siders. He's from the U.S., 6'2", 345 pounds. Siders belongs on this impressive list for his overall strength. He excels in all 3 power lifts with personal bests of 1,019 in squat, 799 on the bench, and a deadlift of 865 pounds for a 2651 pound total. His best raw lifts, meaning he does equipped. His best raw lifts include 650 pounds on bench, which is impressive.
Yeah.
840 pounds in the deadlift, and takes pride in having achieved the aforementioned feats without the use of performance enhanced, meaning that his strength derives purely from genetic blessings and brutally hard work, much like that of the following man.
And a traumatic childhood.
Yeah.
So, again, impressive.
Yeah.
That's still not someone I would put over Brian Shaw.
It's crazy they're trying to break 3,000. I'll be trying to break 1,000 if I did those 3 lifts.
So,
Well, yeah. I mean, that's a milestone number for a 3 lift total. That's like a 30-minute 5K.
Well, that's crazy.
yeah, it's
3,000 pound 3 lifts. That's what I'm saying. Like, my 3 lifts might total 1,000. Like, they're going for 3,000.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's why. Yeah, I mean, because there's not.
Because I can't bench with the crap. I can deadlift maybe 4.
I mean, the heaviest raw bench we've already talked about was Julius Maddox, and he's not hit 800 yet.
Yeah.
So
That's crazy. Yeah.
I don't see there ever being. I mean, that means you're talking minimum 800. Well, not minimum, but in my mind already, it's got to be 8, because whatever you miss on your bench, you've got to make up for squat and deadlift. Yeah. So that's a lot.
So
buddy.
you'd have to be 800 and 1,200 and 1,200.
Yep.
Or
Well, it'd be 800, 1,200, 1,000.
Yeah. I was.
Or 700, 1,200,
Holland,
1,100.
he always shoots for the moon.
Yeah.
Yep.
No.
So again, like, I don't mean, just like Mitch Hooper mentioned 100 times, just like I'm going to say 100 times, is by saying I don't think these people belong on this list or where they are on the list is not that they're weak or any disrespect to these people. It's just, if you're putting Brian Shaw at number 10.
I mean, stick them in front of a 600-pound Atlas stone and see if they can pick it up.
Or put them in front of these lifts raw, which,
Yeah.
I mean, granted, I guess Brian Siders did, but still not compared to Brian Shaw.
Yeah.
Granted, Brian Shaw, to my knowledge, has not done powerlifting. So, and also, Mitch Hooper made a lot of good points. Is a lot of these athletes that he thinks could have been, that either are on the list or could have been on the list, or that the problem was that they were never pushed. Like, if they were really early in their career or early for their time, you don't really know what they could have done because they were never pushed by heavy competition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a lot of timing, too, because, like, I mean, just look at the Olympics. Like, we're just human beings, but still every year somebody is faster in the pool or faster on the track. So,
like, if you're one of these guys, like, that we'll get to here in a little bit, is way, way stronger than the competition, there's no reason for them to keep pushing further.
There's just so much speculation in that because, like, there's a lot of it's like, what could they do now? You have no idea.
You can't argue that.
Yeah.
And that's what Mitch Hooper said, is you can only argue what has been done.
Yeah.
So mostly I agree with that. But however, like, if we talk about some of these other people that we've done stories on or that are on this list, I kind of want to say I think they're stronger.
Yeah.
Because I'm confident. But also, I get the point of they didn't do it, so you don't know.
Yeah.
But all right, that's what I say. That number 6.
Yep.
Number 5. Now this one, as soon as he said the name, we already know who it is, and I disagreed before I even heard him say he disagreed. But this one might, because this is one of the first ones that is a legitimate strength legend that I do not think belongs on this list. And I'm going to say their name, and I want to see if you can remember who this actually is, which is Louis Uni.
Louis Uni. What was
I think I remember hearing about Angus now.
it? Yes. Louis Uni. That that's
One of them uni boys.
no, he didn't go by that though. Like he's not.
Not since the accident.
There's gonna be too much dead air while I'm thinking of it. Go ahead.
Apollon.
Yeah.
Or Apollon the Mighty. Great strength legend, very crucial to strength history. But like, let's be honest. Especially so his feet of the Apollon's wheels. There's a heavier version of those now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That people are doing for reps.
Yeah. And several people are.
Yeah, several.
Yeah.
So none of his feats are anywhere near a world record.
Mm-hmm.
None of them are anywhere near anything that both then and now are more than achievable. Like they're I don't know. I'm like, he's a great performer, great entertainer. He did a lot for strength history. Can't say that he belongs in the top 10 though.
No.
I mean, he'd be a Hall of Famer, but not the greatest
Exactly.
of all time.
Exactly
Yeah.
that. Especially the fact that you're going to put him. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, there's a guy in here that if you're going to put people like this in here, he should have been in here, which would have been Louis Cyr.
Yeah. Louis Cyr didn't make it.
No, go ahead and tell you right now. Louis Cyr did not make it. And if you're going to put Apollon on here,
Yeah.
the Louis Cyr, man, already. Or, never mind. All right, we'll get to it.
The more you get into it, the more I'm like, there's more and more speculation that I think of. Like, you also have to think of just knowledge. Like, we've learned so much more about how to train and all that crap. Like,
And that's it, yeah.
take a 70s F1 driver. They were using the stick shift and stuff, and sure, they were really good. But Max Verstappen is in a simulator 1,000 hours a day. So I guarantee you, in the same car, he would smoke them. But it's not their fault. But how do you compare? Like,
Yeah.
how do you say one's better than the other?
That's why it's really a hard thing to make a list like top 10 strongest humans, especially whenever you've got people like Apollon that did a lot for it and is a Hall of Famer, but not really the strongest to ever do it. And I don't know that he's not one that I'm going to argue is not really his fault, because I just don't think he would. Even now, I don't think he would have been as
Strongest should
competitive.
go based solely off numbers. Not
Yes, exactly that.
what
And the
they
problem is,
contributed.
he was back in 1862, and a lot of our strength legends are back in these like early 1900s that are there's nothing to do there. I mean, you can't. There was no tracking database
Yeah.
that tracks your powerlifting totals or tracks your strongman records or your Highland game records. These are just guys working for circuses or
People have also naturally been getting taller. That's another thing that needs to be taken into account.
Yeah.
to argue that Apollon was 6'3", 260.
Okay, well, that's irrelevant then. But
So-
I think just like in 1910, so not even that long ago, I think the average height for a man was like 5'9" or something. I think now it's up to like 5'11" or something. Like
Yep.
we are getting taller.
So moving on,
Longer
what are we at?
limbs.
Number 4
Yes.
is now. Here's one I absolutely disagreed with because nothing. Even Mitch Hooper said it. Nothing about this dude screams anywhere near on this list, which is Vasil Varastyuk.
Bless you.
He's a
Jinx, you owe me a Coke.
So one thing we haven't talked about before is back whenever World's Strongest Man started, there was also another organization called IFSA that purposely tried to steal athletes from it. So then you'd have athletes such as Big Z that wins IFSA, but then you've got other people that are winning World's Strongest Man at the same time. But however, Big Z won both.
Yeah.
So
IFSA sounds like a shell corp. Like if I had a company that was just a front, I'd call it something like IFSA. IFSA Worldwide.
So this is one of the first men to win IFSA and to win a World's Strongest Man title. Nothing about this guy's totals or anything. Like, I mean, honestly, I'm reading, like, you can read his little thing here. They don't even put a number of what weights he did.
Just
Like
deadlift, a lot. Bench press. more than a lot.
good amount. Like,
Fair to middling, mild to moderate.
like all it says is the strongest man alive in both the World's Strongest Man and IFSA World Championship competitions, winning in 2004, 2007, respectively. In fact, he edged out the man who tops the list when he achieved victory at the IFSA contest. Additionally, the Ukrainian strongman took second place at the Arnold Strongman Classic on 3 occasions, and now 40, he has been retired from competition for some time. Nothing about this guy tells me that he belongs anywhere near the top of this list.
Yeah.
I don't even know who he is, but I know he's strong. He is not knocking him or meaning anything.
Second 3 times at the Arnold.
Thank you.
That's not a top.
Yeah, and they're like, he won World's Strongest Man once.
Yep, and I think Mitch had looked up some of his numbers
Ron's
on.
at number 10 with 4 wins.
Thank you. And I think Mitch Hooper had looked up some of his stuff where like his overhead press is beaten by like every main lister right now.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the guy's strong. He's a monster. He's done great things. He's done awesome things. Do I think he belongs in the top 10 of a list called Strongest Humans to Ever Walk the Earth? No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, if it was like a Hall of Fame, maybe.
Yeah.
But like,
Again, Hall of Fame is a completely different
yeah,
conversation.
but a top 10, like that's pretty definitive. Like, it seems like a top 10 is no wiggle room.
Yeah.
And they even call this the definitive top 10. Like, and so far, it's anything but that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, next. Now, this one I agree
According to
with.
Watch Mojo, the definitive list.
Yeah. So now, in number 3, Paul Anderson.
Okay, Paul Anderson.
100% agree with this one.
Okay, yeah.
And he's one that I would argue that we never actually saw how strong he was because no one could touch him. No one was anywhere in the ballpark of Paul Anderson.
Yeah, he didn't have enough. He didn't have enough
Heck no.
opposition.
He won the gold medals at the Olympics for weightlifting. And did powerlifting. He did strongman. He did everything. Where's it at? Some people say he didn't lift 1,200 pounds, but I fully think he could.
Can I Google something real quick? Thanks.
So Paul Anderson's name may be the most controversial one. Proclaimed by some to be far and away the strongest man who ever lived, he also has a share of skeptics whether he really squatted 1,200 pounds. But Dr. Todd personally witnessed him squat 700 for 8 reps in an exhibition at time when the official world record 1-rep max for the squat was about 700 pounds. Anderson won an Olympic gold medal for the U.S. in weightlifting in Melbourne, Australia in 1956 and has so many records.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy is nuts. That's why he's got so many lifts named after him. There's where the strongest men on earth, or strongest men in history, did a whole episode on him. I mean,
Yeah. Well, to me, 700 for 8 reps is more impressive than 12 for a 1-rep.
No, I agree.
Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I completely agree. So,
Honorable mention of strongest people to ever walk the earth today in 1996. Kurt Angle brought home the gold for his country with a broken
With a
neck.
broken neck.
Yeah.
honestly, we really should do a story on Kurt Angle because I've read that story a few times.
Kurt
and
Angle, baby.
honestly, like,
I'm
the
just
dude's
a sexy Kurt.
dude's
I'll
impressive.
Make your ankle hurt.
So Paul Anderson, yeah, I agree with. Where on the top 10, I can't say right off the top of my head without having to. I think we need to form our own top 10 at some
I
point.
do too, yeah.
Hall's number one.
But
Hall's got dibs on number one.
dibs, no goes.
Hall's number one.
All right. So moving on to number 2 is Bill Kazmaier.
You're going to say Cosby for a second. I was about to be blown
Bill.
away. But did he
old-
put the judges asleep before he lifted?
So I agree with Bill being on the list
Yeah.
because literally no one else in history has ever been uninvited to a competition because they were winning
dominant.
too
Yeah.
much.
They're like, listen, it's not fair if you compete.
Yeah. Which, granted, it's because at the time it was more of a show than a competition, and if you just have a guy sweeping everybody, it's not much of a show.
Yeah.
But still, I agree he should be on here. Where I have a hard time saying he belongs over Brian Shaw, but he's also another one that I can't say that he was ever pushed very hard because, I mean, he's smoking everybody
Yeah.
decisively. So, yeah, I agree with him being on the top 10, just where he's at. I would
I'm
say
not saying these guys weren't training every day either, but they weren't training at the level dudes are now. Like they were on the regime with the freaking doctors and all that crap.
Some of them were. I mean, like if you start looking at George Hackenschmidt, like we've talked about before, like he had a whole lifestyle. He wrote books on it.
Some of these guys will have no idea what their body actually could have achieved.
Oh, and then even like I just watched an interview with Hafthor Bjornsson the other day where he talked about whenever he was younger and coming up. And he was first into strongman. You know, he said, I was eating everything. I was eating all the wrong foods, but I was eating everything I could get my hands on, cheeseburgers, hot dogs, everything, just so I could gain weight.
He was skinny.
Oh, he
played basketball. He was really skinny.
He said he was putting on all this weight for it. And he said at one point he was just so unhealthy. He's like 20-something years old, but he was so unhealthy that he would just fall asleep anywhere. He'd just be like at the dinner table eating and then just out. Like, he just couldn't help it.
It's like Eddie Hall when he was working to break the deadlift record.
He would wake up at 2 a.m. to eat.
Yeah, and Eddie was talking about, he's like, man, a calorie is a calorie.
Yep.
You know, and he was just
and he would wake up at like two or something in the morning to eat, go back to sleep, wake up, eat a full English breakfast, go back to sleep. Like that's all he did was eat and sleep.
But number one's Dwayne The Rock Johnson. He's all natty too.
all natty.
So number one. Oh, sorry, not at number one yet. We are at number 2. Mark Henry.
Mark Henry.
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with him being in the top 10.
Just because I like wrestling.
I'm okay with him being in the top 10, but I don't know. See, because he's done a lot of impressive things.
Yeah.
And in my opinion,
But are they more impressive than what Brian Shaw's done?
Yes.
Like,
but it's also, if I think of his accomplishments that we've talked about, I mean, absolutely one of the most solid athletes ever. And in the way he dominated the Apollon's wheels the first time they were at the Arnold, unlike anything anyone's ever seen and probably will ever see.
And just to maintain his mass with the amount of like calories he probably burns wrestling and lifting.
And the fact that he is adamantly been drug tested so many times that's his thing, is that he is all natural and done everything he's done, puts everything a little more above everybody else.
Oh yeah.
And there's a lot of these athletes that we could say, like, we think speculatively they're on stuff, but we don't know. We know he's not.
Yeah.
Like, we know that.
Two people in this world have been
training
clean.
regimen is totally different for wrestling versus strongman.
Also true.
To come off and just do that.
Yeah. I mean, he went from just calling himself the world's strongest man to
proving it.
Two people that are totally natty. Him,
Mike O'Hearn,
Lance Armstrong. Technically got it out of his system. The old blood open thing.
But yeah, I will say I think Mark Henry can be in the top 10. Where, I don't know. Definitely a Hall of Famer. That's not even a question.
Yeah.
But it's
just for like what he's done for just world in general, just putting it on TV and stuff. There's plenty of like me growing up. Like I would catch World's Strongest Man on like ESPN and watch him do Atlas Stone and stuff. Like, that was cool. But like Mark Henry, knew who Mark Henry was because I like wrestling.
Yeah, so like I can look at all of his stuff. None of it is unimpressive. Like he's not done anything that I'm like, oh no, that's like absolutely up there. But it's is it top 10 ever to walk the earth? Like I feel like that's a very bold statement that you need to have proof behind.
Yeah.
If number 1 ain't Samson, I'm flipping this couch and I'm walking out of here.
Well, get ready to flip it. So
let me get up first.
Moving on to number 1, which I'm fine with. Zadrunas Savickas.
Z. Okay. I was going to throw a fit if he wasn't on the list.
I'm not fine with it. I don't even know who he is.
What?
You don't know Big Z?
No.
I will say, okay. So,
and you're on this podcast?
That's why I don't watch this stuff.
Big Z, I mean.
I don't watch our own podcast.
Yeah, I can't.
What a weirdo.
Big Z is definitely, like, I think it's unarguable that he is the top. But however, Brian Shaw's beat him.
Yeah.
So again, like, well, you got Big Z number 1 and Brian Shaw number 10.
Yeah.
When they actually went head to head against each other, and Brian Shaw came out on top a couple of times.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I will definitely say Big Z should be number 1.
Yeah. When you look at their body of work, though, Big Z, how many times has Big Z won?
I think he's won 5. Let me make sure. I'm pretty sure they have that in here before I say something wrong.
Take time to look at each other's bodies of work.
I don't see how many times he's won, but I'm pretty sure it's 5 off the top of my head without confirming it. He's held like every overhead record. I don't really know there's a record he didn't hold at some point.
Right.
So, I mean, like I hear it talked about all the time. Like if you were to build the Mount Rushmore of strength, who's on it?
Yeah.
Undoubtedly, Brian Shaw and Big Z are 2. So
Yeah. But, I feel like the guy with the world's heaviest ever deadlift should be in that top 10 list.
and that was a point that that on with the video. I just forget his name. Man,
Mitch.
Mitch Hooper did, as he said, a 2018 Hafthor Bjornsson versus Big Z would be something to watch.
Yeah.
Because it's like now you could argue that Hafthor's the strongest. I mean, you could make an argument that he's the strongest ever.
Yeah.
But 2018, you weren't taking it from him. I mean, that was right off his loss to Eddie Hall.
Yeah.
Coming into World's Strongest Man, and I mean, smoked everything.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Prime Big Z versus that would be
it'd be something to watch. But
Yeah.
I don't know that I'm going to say. It depends on events. Like again, it's
exactly.
it's hard
that's
to
the
say.
event breakdown.
Yeah, because if you're talking a lot of overhead, Big Z all day,
Yeah.
all day.
Yeah. You're doing a lot of pulling, like deadlift, truck
Yep.
pull, that kind of stuff.
Got to give it to Hafthor.
Yeah.
Hafthor's one of them big ones too. Like someone who doesn't watch any of this, I don't know who Big Z. I know Mark Henry. I know Hafthor. I know those guys.
And that's also it. Is
Yeah.
like I'm not trying to just say that only strongman belong on the strongest ever walk the earth. There's plenty of powerlifters, plenty of weightlifters. But
I noticed Ed Cohen's name isn't on
the
there.
number one that
Like,
came to my mind. It's, like I'm not one to usually boast the pound for pound strength. And me and you have talked about it a lot. A lot of us have talked about it a lot. Is numbers are numbers.
Yeah.
Like I don't like the argument of he weighed this but he lifted this. Like
Right.
That's okay for like comp and stuff. But if you're talking strongest,
Yeah.
exactly. But if you're talking Ed Cohen, Ed Cohen's beating records of all weight classes. He's setting world records for all weight classes total at that time.
Yeah.
So, which are still counted now. So, I mean, how do you...
Yeah. How did he not get on that list?
Yeah, so I find that hard. And he's a power lifter, so how do you
Yeah.
not put him on here? How do you not put Eddie Hall? How do you not put Hafthor Bjornsson? How do you not put Lasha on it, who's about to compete in the Olympics right now and probably break every world record there is?
Yeah.
in
I'd like to see
weightlifting?
one of these guys survive just 10 minutes of Beef Bone Mania, though.
Well, yeah.
Got a good point.
That's right. Swish ball.
Solid point. So I do not find this list very definitive at all.
No.
But
Bone Mania.
I mean, there's a lot of people that should be on here
Yeah.
that are just aren't. I mean, honestly, I could make a point that there's a few CrossFitters I believe that could be on this list before some of these people.
Yeah.
So, and that's a lot coming from me.
Yeah.
But so yeah, that's the top 10, and especially if you're going to include Apollon. How do you just forget everybody else like George Hackenschmidt, Louis Cyr? Like these are all people that are known to be stronger than Apollon,
Yeah.
but not here.
Crazy.
Angus McCaskill.
Yeah.
I remember hearing about him.
You sure? Like he's whenever I first started listening to this, that was my first thought is, he's got to be on there.
Yeah.
He's literally even noted to be the strongest man to have ever walked the earth.
That was the title of
Yes.
yeah.
So, but no, he doesn't make the definitive top 10 list. So, I don't know.
I don't know enough names to know anybody that got left off. I was trying to think of anybody that. Nah, I can't. The two that I know are on there.
But yeah, so that's Muscle and Fitness's.
Why is Clint Poore not on there?
That's a great. That's also
Yeah.
Yeah. Travis Law.
There
Law
definitely
dog,
should be a
son.
T-Law on there,
Yeah.
but whatever. Here we are.
T-Law.
So, anyways, what are y'all doing?
Currently tingling.
You know,
Me too.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you guys just chug some pre-workout, huh?
Mind your
Yeah.
business.
So I
Holly.
think now would be a good time for y'all to hit some ads while I look up the rest of what we're going to talk about.
Well, so while they had chugged pre-workout, I had ordered some more Zone smelling salts.
I need to order some.
Yeah, I had to replace my supply. I use it all the time. You can go and get some yourself and get a discount if you use code TIPP.
TIPP.
Yeah,
Yeah.
PP.
PP. Yeah, that's the Iron Palace Podcast, TIPP, in case you didn't put that together.
It's an acronym for this.
Ever since we started this, there will be people that will I'll talk to about it, and they go, "Yeah, so how's IPP?" I'm like, "The heck's IPP?"
Yeah.
Like Iron Palace Podcast. I'm like, "It's the
Yeah.
Iron Palace Podcast."
That's right.
Whoa, calm down.
Stop.
Yeah.
Put the D on it. Put this
Respect on the
Put
name,
some respect on that
Put some
name, dude.
respect on it.
You gotta walk off like Soldier Boy. Drake.
But yeah, you got to put that "the" in. I mean, it's like the Ohio State. You know, you
They can't handle the grind SEC schedule.
no, not at all. if they didn't get to play like Wisconsin,
Yeah.
and Michigan
And like
State,
Middle Tennessee's shelter for battered women. DeVry. Like they're Charmin soft, dude.
but yeah, so zone smelling salts, TIPP.
Yeah, go get you some. I mean, world records have been set with it.
Yeah,
Not even just ours.
yeah.
Like actual strength athletes. Ones that should have been on that list.
Yeah. And we also, you want to look good while you're lifting hard, you can go to Hosswear and get, you can go to Hosswear and get you some sweet shirts and shorts and hoodies and hats. They've got all kinds of gear. But go to Hosswear, and once again, code TIPP will get you a 15% discount.
TIPP. Need to make that a sound on here.
Yeah.
Dave, you got one?
August 17th, Kentucky Open, Somerset, Kentucky.
Heck yeah.
Expo Center. Be there, be square.
Yes.
Also, NutriFit, code Caleb C. Day. Get you some of that good player.
They have something for focus, don't they?
I've heard. I think I remember somebody telling me.
Actually, you remembered something from another episode today, so I think that's proof that it works.
I think,
You're using NutriFit creatine.
Yeah,
as
a
we
light
speak.
dash of creatine goes a long way.
So
you were on the ball today, sir.
Dude, especially if you freebase it. It doesn't say you can do it like that on the instructions.
Not recommended.
First time I tried to use a plastic spoon, big mistake.
Big mistake.
man, I remember
That's a rookie mistake.
Kurt Cobain would
first
never.
off, before I jump down this, y'all got any more ads? Are we forgetting any?
I don't think so.
Hold on, I have a whole thing.
Oh, the mouthpiece.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
that one's yours.
hold on.
God, Hollow,
So-
that's good podcasting, dude.
New Age Performance Mouthpieces. Right now, there's a link on our Facebook page. We're still waiting on our discount code. Go to our Facebook page, follow the link, get you a mouthpiece. I mean, I use it personally and I love it. So maybe if you buy enough of them, I'll send you mine.
Game
Signed.
worn. Yeah.
Game worn. Yeah.
Game worn, dog. It ain't worth much now, but
It's got that world record saliva in
I
it.
won't even clean it first.
He'll mail it to you in a petri dish.
Like this saliva deadlift or Denny Stone lifted 800 pounds.
Yeah. But yeah, so the first time I ever tried pre-workout, I was in the Air Force. I was 18. I joined. There was a bunch of dudes that were lifting and everything. And I heard people kept talking about pre-workout and didn't know what it was. So they, of course, C4 was the biggest thing then. So I went and bought C4. I knew nothing. About
You know nothing, Jon Snow.
that too. So I knew nothing about pre-workout. So I buy it, and I didn't know that the scoop is in there and it's buried in there. So, but I had protein powder. So
Yeah.
oh, my roommate.
I'm just dumb enough to know what you did there.
Yeah. Oh, I almost did it. So I opened the jar. I opened the little thing. I was looking. I'm like, I don't see a scoop. I was like, I know. I've got one in my protein powder. So I get it. I get that scoop out. I was like, man, that's a big scoop. I don't know. So I'm about to put it in there, and my roommate walks in, and he goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "Hey, man. You just use a protein scoop, or what do you use?" And he goes, "Don't do that. You'll die."
Allegedly.
He said, "It's in there. You just got to dig it out." So sure enough, I found the tiniest little doodad in there.
It's one of my favorite things that supplement companies do. I get excited if I open one and it's one that's made the spoon so long that it can't be buried. I I appreciate. I want to write them a letter every time. I'm going, thank you.
I agree with you. However, I've had times where I get that one and I can't get it back in there.
Oh yeah, you got to kind of dig it back down. In there.
Yeah. So you're
But
like,
I mean, I think that's worth it.
If you go handle first, it goes in pretty easy.
who goes handle first?
And I think
just saying.
I
What do
think
you
it's
do,
worth
eat pizza
that.
crust first too.
Sometimes.
It's
Oh
better
my
to
God.
fight the scoop back in than to fight the powder everywhere.
That's
when you
not
dig
true.
for it.
When you got hands this big, it's hard
Yeah.
to get in that jar.
I'm aware.
I mean, you're like this.
Why did you just laugh like Mandark? Why- you just turned
He
into,
made me double laugh. I was kind of laughing, and then he really sold it. So then that laugh went over the other one. They were jockeying for position over
you
here.
went Cartoon Network over here. Ha 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 ha.
That was a 2-story laugh, dog.
Ah ha 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 ha.
It was a laugh comma, capital comma.
Oh yeah.
That's what it sounds like when it's capitalized.
Yeah, that's it. Is that like a you hold a shift thing or?
What did you just say?
Language.
Yeah,
But NutraFit has good scoops.
yeah, they do.
Yep.
Good scoops of whatever you want,
And you get a
big
discount
boy.
if you use promo code Caleb C Day.
Yep.
There's a little curveball there. It's not TIPP. But
Yeah,
the
we
name of our
You'd think we'd.
Alan's gonna poop.
the name of our mastermind.
We'll
Use
wait.
Caleb's shirt.
We'll wait.
We've got time to kill.
We're not doing anything. Clean this up in post.
It's not running down my face. I mean,
I got a question.
Oh,
What? Well, I'm just saying. I'm
I
like,
usually get very afraid when, mostly David, but when you also say that.
no, because like, I was thinking about this list of the strongest men to ever walk the earth.
Oh yeah, we did that.
Is there? Yeah,
What episode was that on?
but
On the Sausage First episode?
yeah. Come in, sausage first.
He's trying to talk, Caleb.
Yeah, Caleb.
Really?
But
Yeah,
All right, go ahead. Sorry.
so, well, I was just thinking, you know, all you can go by is the numbers,
Yep.
like we said. But what lift? Like, if you could boil it down to one lift, what one lift do you think shows the most like overall strength? You know, because like, you know, I'm thinking about dude with the clean and press record.
Yep.
Well, that's cool and all, but is that as impressive as a 1,200 pound or 1,100 pound deadlift or a 1,200 pound squat or
Yeah.
800 pound bench? Like, which lift would be the one lift that like signifies the most overall strength?
So if I think about it, for me, I want to say deadlift.
Yeah.
I really do. But something about someone doing a 1,200 pound squat for some reason just screams to me way more impressive than a
Yeah.
1,200 pound or a 1,100 pound deadlift.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something about like if you're deadlift is an impressive lift, not knocking it at all.
Mm-hmm.
But I love a deadlift, and deadlifting 500 kilos from the floor is nuts.
Yeah.
But something about putting 500 kilos on your back and then squatting it to depth,
And then standing back up with it.
majorly impressive to me. So,
Yeah. But like,
but that can also be said for like the clean and jerk.
yeah.
If you're putting it overhead, but we don't do weightlifting. I don't know
Yeah.
what a crazy number is.
But like as a clean and jerk, like how much heavier does it have to be than like in just an overhead press before it's not, you know, like
Yeah.
before it's not impressive,
And I,
you
yeah.
know, because you know like Iron BB's overhead press is ridiculous,
Yep.
but somebody may be able to jerk more than that.
I agree.
So like what?
It's hard to say, especially if you're trying to do an inclusive list that's not specific to one lifting sport.
Yeah,
It gets difficult.
There's a lot
Yeah.
of variables. Yeah.
and like the squat doesn't take into account any upper body.
Yeah, that's what I was
stuff,
trying to think. What
you know?
engages the most?
Yeah,
And that's you can't really
and the only
even deadlift.
Yeah. Well, the
But-
only thing I can think of is a stone lift.
I mean, I
'Cause
agree.
You're having to use a lot of upper body.
I think we should specify stone to shoulder.
Stone to shoulder.
Stone to shoulder. Because if,
Yes.
in my mind, yes, I will say picking a stone up to chest height, impressive and amazing. However, taking said stone, getting it
Yeah,
to chest,
rolling it on
and
up.
then
Yeah.
being able to roll it to shoulder just includes everything.
I was actually gonna
Yeah.
say stones too, because like from someone who's not into like strength sports at all, when I think of somebody who's like really strong, my first thought isn't somebody who's like deadlifting or something like that a lot, because like like it's specified muscle group. I'm thinking somebody who's like moving something.
Yeah. They
outside
can
of
go
the gym
out and just
physically. Yeah.
move a big.
Like if
heavy-
somebody
Yep.
asked me
awkward.
who do you think is the strongest man in the world, I would never think of anybody I've seen at the gym. I'd be thinking of like, oh, I've seen this guy move this. Like immediately, I would get to the gym and be like, oh yeah, take that into account. But my knee jerk reaction is not any of those lifts.
I would definitely agree. Yeah, a stone lift would definitely, I think, would settle the if we had a time machine and could set a stone,
Yeah.
the same size stone in front of all these people and say, put this on your shoulder
Yeah.
and either do a time or however.
Yeah,
you
it's
choose
not
to
a
do
pick
that.
this bar up to your waist. It's a get that above your head.
Yep.
Can you or can't you?
Yeah, get that to your shoulder.
Yeah.
Either one, both. I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a good point.
Yeah, and I don't know, because I the more that we've talked about stone lifting, the more I've thought about how, I mean, it's kind of like, I mean, it was kind of the beginning of strength sports, and it's kind of the ultimate. Strength,
I agree.
You know, like,
And they're
it's
not designed for lifting,
Yeah.
so like you have to adjust a lot more. Like
Yep.
you're engaging everything.
Yeah.
Once you get to a certain weight, because you can't really just hold it. There's no handles. Like
Yep. And like to that, just like you said, Dave, even if I show people at work or people that don't lift or do anything, I can show them an 800-pound Denny lift and they think that's great. But if I show them, like I showed the same people today, for example, I showed them my 800-pound Denny lift. Then I showed them a 205 stone to shoulder. They were freaking out more
Yeah.
about that 205 to shoulder
yeah,
because it's more relatable.
yeah.
Yeah.
They've picked up stuff.
Yes.
but they don't deadlift, so the plates don't
Right.
translate until you've had that weight in your hands.
Yeah, which I would say the Denny lift is a little bit closer to showing what it is you're doing, but still, it's just a stack of plates. You know,
Yeah.
like,
Right.
you don't know.
Yeah. And and unless you know if they're kilo plates or pound
Right.
plates, like you don't even really know, even if you,
Yep.
even if you're aware of it,
Yeah, the thin
like-
plates don't look big
Exactly.
at all.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like the other day, whenever you were deadlifting, I wasn't paying attention, or you were doing rack pull.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't paying attention, and you had 5 reds
Yeah,
on
you-
each side, and I was like, "Oh, we get 495."
Yeah, and I was like, dude, this is 600.
Yeah, I just wasn't. I wasn't paying no attention to what was on there. So, but yeah, it's just like that. So, yeah, I would say either I want to say a stone to shoulder, because anytime that there's that added level of they got it to the chest,
Yeah.
that's impressive.
Right.
Depending on just impressive in general, and then the added because a lot of times to get it to your shoulder. Like a lot of the time, you won't get it perfectly where you can just roll it up. So now you're doing this like hop up,
Yeah.
like almost a shrug to pull it up.
And you're also stabilizing,
Right,
Yeah,
and you're
yeah.
squeezing.
Yeah, you're
moving your
using-
feet, staying balanced. Like you're engaging everything.
You're using chest and you're using
That's what I was about to
biceps.
say. You
and
don't
you're
know.
using,
You
like-
don't know how engaged your chest can be until you're trying to hug a big rock and not let it fall.
Yeah.
Like that. Like anytime I've tried to mess with mine out there, that's the first thing that feels the most shot is chest, because I just can't seem to squeeze this hard enough.
Reminds me, I have a relatable story to the podcast for once. Like,
Oh, dog, everybody listen.
Yeah.
some like one of my it was my first full time job was moving furniture, and we'd get these guys all the time that were in the gym regularly
Yep.
and could not carry furniture for nothing. Like it was all like because it just didn't train. Like it was just they did their bicep curls and stuff like that. When it come to we're gonna pick up this sleeper sofa, there was like guys nowhere near in their shape that
Yeah,
could do it
they-
effortlessly, and these guys just could not get it to the truck.
They didn't know how to put their where to put their hands. They couldn't get
Yeah.
their yeah.
And it was like if you handed it to them, they could probably do it, but like it was like it didn't translate to the real world at all for
Yep.
some of them. Now I'm not saying that's the case all the time. Like I'll be like half Thor, he can pick up anything he wants. He carries stones, all that crap. But just as far as the layperson, like just doesn't. It's different. It's definitely different worlds.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, I'm with you, Holland. I would say any kind of stone lifting I think would be more relatable, but in my opinion, stone to shoulder.
Yeah. And or sandbag lifting. I mean, that's basically the same kind of deal.
Now, I would agree with you. had me and Alan not lifted a sandbag Husafell stone, very different. Very. In my opinion, the sandbag is a little bit harder.
Well, I guess I've never done a Husafell. I've had to do some sandbag loading events and stuff.
There's nothing
Even
rigid
just
about it.
stand,
It just
yeah.
kind of moves.
Yeah.
And like all the weight would probably go below where you're squeezing.
And I guess it does depend on the bag, because if you have a tighter fit bag, maybe. But
Yeah.
like the one we used, I think it was a 250.
Yeah.
It was a 250, 275. It's somewhere in there.
I didn't think about that. Yeah, if it wasn't packed full, your center of gravity's moving on it constantly.
it's
Where stone's
rough.
solid. That center of gravity won't be in the middle until you squeeze it, and it's all your knees.
Because we both, we picked it up and held it and we set it down. That felt so much heavier than the 350 stone that me and you carried.
Yeah.
Because I remember whenever me and you got into that, I'd already lifted that sandbag. And then we go to do that, and I thought, oh, man, he said 350. I was like, I'm screwed.
Yeah.
Because that 250 or 270, whatever that was, about killed me. So then we go over there, and I was like, oh, this is actually, because you can brace against it.
It's probably like holding a T-shirt with the stone tied at the bottom. It's like center of gravity moves.
It was rough. And then we watched another guy that I thought wouldn't pick that sandbag up, and he did the smartest thing I'd ever seen, which was get real low and just start like jabbing his arms into it to like squeeze this thing in and like pack it in real hard, and then he picked it.
I thought he was going to say he cut a hole in the bottom of it before he picked it up. The smartest thing.
Got lighters. He went.
He came up and did the hitman.
Rick Wiscat.
But yeah.
So, what do you think, Alan?
I thought it was pretty tough.
He
for me.
concurs.
Because I was all jacked up on pre-workout.
You were
Pre-workout Mountain Dew.
Energy drinks.
I thought you were going to die.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
They had all the they had all pre-workout stuff in shot glasses.
Oh, this is
around
an
there.
Arnold?
Yeah, so
No
we're
one's
just-
stopping this
And
man
I
on Baja
I was
Blast.
thirsty, but there wasn't no water. It was just
it's
energy
Just
drinks.
pre-workout.
Pre-workouts and energy
Dude,
drinks.
you walk in and they're like, you've got rain up here just handing you rains. And then you go by and Celsius out here just handing you, like, you just walk up and they've got 3 flavors. What you want? You grab it and go. And then you, all day it's like that.
Like,
And
man,
then
I'm
you've got
thirsty.
shots of pre-workout just everywhere. And then someone handed us it's like a 5-hour energy, but it was way more potent. And he drank that, all that pre-workout, those energy drinks, and I wasn't paying attention to what he was drinking. And then he goes, man, my chest is hurting.
My heart said it was going to wait for me in the truck.
I said,
Probably had like 4,000 grams of gas.
I said, what's wrong with it? I said, what'd you drink? And he starts listing it all. I was like, he goes, what'd you drink? I was like, none of that.
Enough to kill a gray whale.
Like, I think I drank one energy drink this morning.
Well, I said enough to kill a gray whale, but it's probably enough to turn a gray whale into a killer whale, to be honest with you.
And I don't drink that stuff.
Yeah, at the time, you were like, yeah, I don't drink nothing. And I thought,
As long as we was moving, I was fine. But when we stood still, it was pretty rough.
Can relate for last hour.
But there's a pretty cool YouTube channel that deals with stone lifting and sandbag lifting. It's the Stone Circle.
yep.
I recommend that guy's channel. It's pretty cool.
Also, shout out, because to your point, is, me and you talked to the gym the other day about how you're about to switch almost exclusively to stone lifting.
Yeah.
And because you've got a trip with power partners coming up for Iceland,
Yes.
and then now that I'm looking at going to Japan again,
Yeah.
and now I'm getting really into researching all the lifting stones over there. I'm like, I'm about in the same boat. I'm about to jump into just training stones a lot. And
Train these stones.
so shout out to our friends at Stones of Strength podcast. God,
I was
we
starting to say,
really shouldn't do pre-workout before
just
a
kidding.
podcast.
Just kidding. We don't have friends.
Doing pre-workout before a podcast has really effed me up. But anyways, Stones of Strength podcast, I've been able to ask them tons of questions. They strictly talk about Stones of Strength.
Yeah.
And so I've been able to reach out to them and ask questions about the stones in Japan. They've been able to tell me who I should ask about stuff over there. So,
Oh, like who to get permission from and who to.
well,
like,
just who to talk to help me set stuff up, because a lot of the stones there are in shrines. So it's not like Iceland or Scotland, or it's on the side of the road.
Yeah.
These are in shrines that, they've got traditions that you do before you enter it, much less to move something in it.
Yeah. And that's cool that there's a resource for that now.
Yep. I mean, everybody knows it in Scotland now because of the documentary.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think people like that are local, that are willing to show you around and make sure that you're doing it properly, because you don't want to do it improperly, especially if there's a tradition behind it.
Yeah.
So I think that's very cool to keep all of it going. But either way, so yeah, I'm about to do a lot more stone training also, especially because I think we finally set in stone that we're going to do it.
Yeah.
Set in stone. You like that?
Yeah.
Is we've got a stone lifting competition coming up
Sometime in
October.
October.
I might just start lifting in general, to be honest with you.
And inspired by the one and only Clint Poor,
Yep.
is going to be the Bavarian deadlift,
Yes.
but with a stone. So
With one of the legendary, or soon to be legendary,
soon to be legendary
day stones.
day stones.
For reps.
TBD.
Yeah.
We've got to we'll do some testing first to see
Yeah.
how hard that's going to be, because we have not tried it yet. But it's going to be there, just whether or not it's going to be super hard or just kind of hard.
Yeah.
But anyways, anybody else got anything else to add before we wrap this up?
I'm good. Dave?
No, I'm all right.
Dave's all right.
All right, so the quote for the day: life doesn't get easier or more forgiving. We get stronger and more resilient. Steve Maraboli.
Nice one.